Slayer vocalist and bassist Tom Araya opened up about the tiring aspect of relentless touring over the past 3 decades in a 2015 interview, confessing he sold his soul to the band. Asked by Noisey if he is afraid of death, Tom commented, "No, I'm not really afraid of death. I'm not. My fear is what will happen to my family when I'm gone, and leaving them behind, because you kind of do when you pass away, you're leaving people behind and you're going somewhere else. You're moving on. I want to be there for them forever, but I know that's not possible. I faced that when my father passed away quite a few years back. And my mother just passed away recently, in April. So you think they're going to be there for you forever. You never realize what a loss it is to no longer have your mother or your father with you. I don't think people quite understand that until that happens to them, when both their parents are no longer with them. There's a form of protection knowing they're alive, and then you have no one to run to and say, "Mommy. Daddy." Explaining how being in Slayer cost him a significant portion of his life, Tom added, "After 33 years of traveling, actually more like 29 years of actual touring and traveling, after a while, it's just tiring. And people are like, oh, it must be fun. You travel. You see blah blah blah. I'm like, man, if you were in my shoes you would think differently." Getting a bit more serious, he added, "Well, we just did a record, Relentless, so I've sold my soul for about a good 4 or 5 years. Yeah, that's true, there are worse places I could sell my soul to, but I think it puts things into perspective when you tell someone that. They're always talking about you sold your soul. And in life, you kinda do. It depends on what it is you're doing in life, but there are some things that require you to sacrifice a good portion of your life." Tom concluded, "I've sacrificed a lot of my life. You miss a lot. People don't even realize that, but you miss a lot. I have brothers and sisters, so I have nieces and nephews that were born and had birthdays, and they're full grown now. And I missed a lot of that." Slayer guitarist Kerry King has had a few bad things to say about Donald Trump, especially when it came to the 2016 presidential election, calling him the biggest liar I've ever seen in politics. The outspoken guitarist told Rolling Stone, "I'm certainly not a political analyst, but I think that Hillary Clinton is the safe, correct choice. Trump is just a sideshow. I'm not even going to apologize to all the Trump followers. I think the reason he's so popular is because he's like the politics version of WWE. He's sensational like wrestling, and that's why middle America loves him. He's the biggest liar I've ever seen in politics. I mean, most of them are liars, but he just outright in-your-face lies." When Rolling Stone mentioned that King might offend some of his more conservative fans, he explained, "People just have to make up their minds and not be into things because their friends are into it or because their girlfriend or their spouse or whoever is into it. People have to be individuals." He then added, "Sounds like I'm talking about religion, doesn't it? What do you think about Donald Trump and Kerry King's viewpoint? Tell us your thoughts in the comments below." In a Guitar World issue, Kerry King discussed his relationship with his Slayer partner Jeff Hanneman, and how they were never best of friends. This is what he said. "Anytime we would finish a tour, Jeff would just go home and detach. He might have lived only 45 minutes away, but unless you were part of his inner circle, it was hard to stay in touch with him. And it took me a few years to understand that. For a while I was just like, why isn't this guy calling me back? But as I got older, I just realized that that was who Jeff was. I don't think Jeff and I were ever best friends. I think we were probably the closest in the band, but never best friends. To put it in a way that everyone could understand, Jeff and I were like business partners. Was he my friend? Of course he was my friend. But we didn't really act like that. The last time I was at Jeff's house was January 2003. We went to his place to watch the Raiders in the playoffs. And it sounds horrible, but it wasn't horrible. That was just how it was." Speaking with RVA Mag, King admitted that his band does live off their history a bit, stating, "We're living on our history for sure, but so is everyone else, yet we're the ones trying to push ourselves forward." He adds, "I would say Iron Maiden and Metallica, no offense, are living on past success. Metallica has toured forever on the Black Record, which a lot of people don't like. I actually like it. It's heavy as can be. Is it Master of Puppets? Course not, but it's a great record. Iron Maiden for me is living off their first 3 records. Have they made good songs since then? Yeah, but they haven't made great records. I like to think we're still making great records, and as much as people come out wanting to hear Rain in Blood and Angel of Death, they also want to hear Disciple or even Implode." From there, the conversation turned to the state of the record industry. The guitarist says he no longer views album sales as a good barometer, stating, "My barometer is the live show where people show up. That means people are into the music, whether the record is selling or not. They have it, they know it, and we can play it and have them sing it right back to us. That's pretty much how it shows me people are still into, regardless of sales." Do you agree with Kerry King? Are Metallica only living at past success? And are they more or less irrelevant? Tell us your thoughts down below.
During a recent interview, Slayer guitarist Kerry King talked about censorship, discussing the band's recent live debut in Singapore and being banned to play certain songs by the government due to religious beliefs. He said, "I think religion is just a big farce, and I think people use it as a crutch as opposed to dealing with the problems in their lives." This is what he said.
We just played Singapore for the first time. And like the day before we played, we got there, a couple days early, I guess, do some press or whatever. And the night before we played, we found out the government came in and said, "Okay, here's 5 songs, you can't play these songs." And I thought to myself, how oppressed is your country when you're scared of music and you think by us playing this song, things are going to happen to your children? It just doesn't make sense to me.
But even in the Western world, like in the States or whatever, you always have problems.
Well, in the States, I know in California we had bus benches, we had like advertisements on bus benches, and one city had them all pulled. It blows me away because common sense to me is like, if that offends you, don't look at it. Maybe somebody else won't be offended. And it's just ironic in this day and age, things like that can still happen.
Is it still important for a band like Slayer nowadays to offend people?
I don't even think we're trying to. I just think, we're making up music that we like and writing about subjects that we like, and it just upsets people. I mean, I knew when we did Jihad that we're gonna have to answer for it, and that's okay. But all the other ones, like I didn't write Cult because I wanted to. I didn't write Cult because I thought, people are just going to say, "Oh, these guys are the devil." Cult is how I feel. I think religion is just a big farce, and I think people use it as a crutch as opposed to dealing with the problems in their life. So,
I think a lot of people think that Jihad is something like Angel of Death Part 2.
Yeah, people. I knew we were going to get the exact kind of response because it's fresh. People say, "How could you write such a song?" And realistically, it's just like reading the newspaper, but it's got music put on top of it or underneath it. So you got music and you're reading an editorial from, some Muslim country, And because we didn't condemn it, just like we didn't do an Angel of Death, that makes us, Muslim sympathizers, and it's crazy. People got too much time on their hands to think about what Slayer's doing. Just listen to the music and have fun, I think people should be allowed to make their own choice. I think people should think for themselves. I think people should listen to music because they like it, not because they're listening to it to pick things out that are wrong with it. I mean, we're not all adults, but there are children on the planet, and there are people that, shouldn't even be making decisions that do. But, I'm all about answering for what I do. Like I said about the bus benches, if you don't like music, don't listen to it. If you don't like the TV show, watch another TV show. If you don't like horror movies, go see, Click, go see comedy, There's choices. You don't have to listen to this. It's not like when we put out a record and it's mandatory listening for everyone on the planet. It's not like that. You have a choice.
Discussing the importance of rhythm guitar, Slayer guitarist Kerry King shared his thoughts on shredders, saying that their music tends to easily bore him as repetitive. He tells Total Guitar, "I think a lot of the shredder-type players, and I don't mean everybody, they're not very good songwriters. Players like Fire Malmsteen spend their time perfecting what they do only as far as leads. Yngwie had a run where he did some good songs, but when it became just about how many notes he can fit in a millisecond." King added, "Don't get me wrong, he's an amazing player, but after 3 songs, I'm done. He'll just keep doing it faster on a different string." Rhythm guitar is where a song is constructed. If there's a song you like, it's because of that rhythm guitar. The lead stuff at the end of the day is just the icing. During the rest of the chat, King discussed hanging out with friends who aren't into metal, explaining how he still likes goofing around with guitar. When people come over and want to listen to music most people like, say Michael Jackson or something, I'll go pick up the guitar and learn the one Eddie Van Halen played on. I'll do stupid shit like that, he said. There's this song called Push It, which got used in commercials, and I think it's funny to put that on when friends are over, pick up a guitar and play along. Everyone in the house just dies laughing. For clarity, you can turn that into a metal song. Discussing his involvement with Megadeth during the band's early stages, Slayer guitarist Kerry King praised frontman Dave Mustaine's guitar skills, but still said that he can't figure out how anyone put up with Dave's character enough to stay in the band. He told Loudwire, "I was one of the lucky people, and there's certainly no offense against Kirk Hammett. Kirk's a wonderful friend of mine, but I was lucky enough to see Metallica with Mustaine. And I say that because it's just a rare thing to be able to say that. I saw them play with Woodstock, and I was so intrigued by Mustaine because he was just ripping on guitar and looking out that way somewhere. And I can't do that to this day. So I was just blown away at his guitar playing. And to find out, I think it was through BC Rich, cause we all played BC Rich back then, I found out that Dave was inquiring if I would play." He continued, "At the end of the day, I thought, this is a gigantic learning situation. And I also thought people would see me and know me from Slayer. Cause, I mean, we only went to the Bay Area, we only got up there. So I think, if people saw me, it would at least make them think, Slayer. So I had Slayer's best intentions in mind. I didn't go and say, hey, I want to be in Megadeth. I don't know how anybody can be in Megadeth for more than a couple of hours, cause that guy's crazy." Asked if he had any bad experiences with Mustaine during his short time in the band back in 1984, King replied, "He was cooler back then. I think there's been a lot of drugs and funny extracurriculars between now and then that helped shape who he is today. But it was good times back then. Playing all the venues Slayer played on, just, I don't know, playing different music. His stuff is definitely more, I wouldn't say intricate, cause we've got intricate parts too, but it's just, he writes riffs in a very different perspective than even after playing with him for a number of months. I wouldn't do it. It's just not my style." In a recent interview, Slayer guitarist Kerry King was asked for his opinion of the Swedish occult rockers Ghost, who share management with Slayer and have toured with King's band in the past. He said, "Dude, I love the imagery. I love it. I just hate the fucking music. I like them as people. You know, they've been on many tours with us. I can't get into their music. And I tried. I wanna like them, and I can't. I got their CD from Brian Slagel from Metal Blade. It was when Gary Holt first started playing with us, and I picked up Gary. And I'm like, Brian said, this is awesome, man. So we put it in, going to practice. It wasn't awesome. It wasn't awesome for me. It wasn't awesome for Gary either. I'm like, well, maybe the first song sucks. And we went to the next one. It's just not for me. I know Ghost is hugely popular, and I'm very happy for their popularity. And, like I said, they're the nicest guys you'll ever meet. It's just not my music. And I've tried so hard." Since then, an A school from Ghost responded to what Kerry King said, dismissing any bad blood over Kerry King comments. He said, "I don't even think that what he said was negative. He just said that he didn't like the band, that he didn't like the music. And you know, we're not for everybody. We've never tried to please everybody, so I didn't even see the negative element in what he said. It doesn't change my opinion on Slayer. I've been a Slayer fan ever since I was a kid, and I still love several of their records with all my heart. For me, it wasn't changing anything." In a recent interview, Slayer guitarist Kerry King was asked for his opinion of the Swedish occult rockers Ghost, who share management with Slayer and have toured with King's band in the past. He said, "Dude, I love the imagery. I love it. I just hate the fucking music. I like them as people. You know, they've been on many tours with us. I can't get into their music. And I tried. I wanna like them, and I can't. I got their CD from Brian Slagel from Metal Blade. It was when Gary Holt first started playing with us, and I picked up Gary. And I'm like, Brian said, this is awesome, man. So we put it in, going to practice. It wasn't awesome. It wasn't awesome for me. It wasn't awesome for Gary either. I'm like, well, maybe the first song sucks. And we went to the next one. It's just not for me. I know Ghost is hugely popular, and I'm very happy for their popularity. And, like I said, they're the nicest guys you'll ever meet. It's just not my music. And I've tried so hard. Since then, a nameless school from Ghost responded to what Kerry King said, dismissing any bad blood over Kerry King comments. He said, "I don't even think that what he said was negative. He just said that he didn't like the band, that he didn't like the music. And you know, we're not for everybody. We've never tried to please everybody, so I didn't even see the negative element in what he said. It doesn't change my opinion on Slayer. I've been a Slayer fan ever since I was a kid, and I still love several of their records with all my heart. For me, it wasn't changing anything.